What's up, Tony? Yeah, grab a chair, man. Pull it up. Oh, no! All right, welcome again. So this will be episode 5 of Repulsive TV. Thanks for joining us again. If you are new and this is your first episode, thank you for tuning in. Yeah, we'll call it 4.5. No, I'm calling it 5. Okay. Sorry, I'm calling it 5.
It's your show.
I am joined tonight by Jason, Abby, Tom, and Danny are sitting in the peanut gallery over there, along with our good buddy Tony. He's back from episode 2, also in the peanut gallery.
Tony said...
He said, hello.
Hey!
Hey! Quietly. The last episode we discussed records and stuff that were inspirational to us and good, just, I don't know, just all around great music. And now we're going to get back into the history of the band, the Order of the Fly. On episode 3, I had Dax and Abby on, and we discussed sort of the early history of the band that led up to the point where we met this guy. Okay, so tonight we are going to talk about meeting, and apparently I had a couple of facts wrong, so we'll correct that. And so we're going to flash back. We're going to go back to the years 2000. Jinko jeans are in. Kids are going to raves. Limp Bizkit is hot.
They're the kings. Eminem had just started. He was just big.
Just getting there. So here it is. So picture yourself in Upland, California. You're sitting in a bar, pub thing called the 2nd Avenue Ale House, and then bam, there's a guy in a witch hat and New Rock boots and a straight jacket thing, and he had a toy doll shirt or something probably, or Cramps. No, it was the Cramps.
It was the Cramps. It was the Sato County Auto Show shirt.
There you go.
Matter of fact, the first show I did with us, I wore that same shirt, held together at that point by safety pins.
He was in a band called Hero to Zero.
Yes.
And did an amazing cover of, what was it, Head Over Heels? Or Out of Sync?
Oh, yeah. No, it was Head Over Heels by the Go-Go's. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, we also did Here Comes Your Man by the
not
Pixies.
As good. Nobody cares about that.
I loved that one.
I know you do.
Wow. Yeah. Am I talking now? Okay. So, Ralph said on the last one that I was blowing fire and lighting the bar on fire, which is not true.
I lied.
I learned to do that for Order of the Fly, but...
My memory is corrupted.
The first time we played, you guys had opened for us, because I want to say Millicent was the other band.
Yeah, that sounds right.
That
Millicent, that was the other band.
And I remember they were
like a Pennywise clone.
Yeah, they were like spitting. They were like spitting liquid latex on each other's faces. And it was really weird. And so, anyways,
wait, Millicent was?
Yeah.
Oh,
remember they had that peel off
wasn't
weird
Millicent
stuff.
Who is the guy that did the suspension thing there? No, it was another one that was like a Tool sounding band.
Yes.
And then
Sliver Pitch?
No,
it was a guy, and the guy did a suspension there. Remember?
Yeah.
And they had a midget. There was a little person.
He ended up. I think he died.
Really?
Remember he flipped at a concert and like tore his head open, was bleeding everywhere.
No, but
because he had something weird wrong with him. The little guy that used to.
He was their manager or something. I can't remember their name, but they were actually really good.
Yes, I know. No.
Yeah, that was his name.
What was the name of the band?
It wasn't Millicent. What was that other band?
It was like a very Tool sounding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they were good. So, anyways, you guys were playing and we were playing, and then we had to come back to play another show because I was actually booking the bands there, and you were like the only ones that didn't charge. Everyone, I didn't know, and I was like guaranteeing. I was guaranteeing bands like $200 a night, and they had like no fans. Like, yeah, we'll come out for $200. I'm like, deal, let's do it. That's only $200.
Yeah, we were free with no fans, so it worked out perfectly.
I was hitting the ATM like every time bands played. And then the second time you guys came back to play, Mark Meekoff, the drummer from Hero to Zero, quit that night. And I had already given you guys the EP, and Aaron already had Yeah. Oh, Aaron had it. And
good story
Aaron
about the EP too. Okay,
so
this is good.
My last show with Hero to Zero, was Nachi and Rich were the guitarist and the bass player, and they were there. Mark decided he wasn't going to show up. He's just like, I'm done, and he like broke up with me like that morning. So, and I say that because it was like Mark and I were on the same page. So I went to Aaron right before the show. I handed him the CD, and I said, can you learn all these songs and come in and play? So Aaron actually, the Hessian, went and learned all the songs, came in and played drums for us that night.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I remember that. Yeah,
so,
you're right.
So my final show was
yeah.
with Aaron playing drums.
I do remember that.
And then you guys played it. And
that was the Halloween night.
No, Halloween night was our first official show.
Oh, yeah,
Jesus.
Yeah, you know. It was
So-
before Halloween then.
But there's a
He
real
slept
fun.
since
There's a
then.
really funny story about this whole thing. On the ride home, when I invited you guys over to my house to seduce you,
it worked.
I told my wife right after we got done, and I knew Mark. I mean, obviously, I was done with Hero Zero. I went over to my wife and I said, "I'm going to join that band." And she goes, "You're joking, right?" And I go, "No." And she goes, "That awful band that just played." And I said, "Yeah." And I said, "But listen to me." I said, "That guy can play bass like nobody's business." And I go, "That drummer's awesome." And I go, "And that one guitarist is good."
Yeah, Mike Maxwell. Sorry, bud.
And she's like, it was just
we weren't ready for
noise.
prime time at the
Yeah,
time.
she's like, it was just noise and this. But do you remember what I said to you that night when I walked up to you guys? I said, I love you guys.
Nice butt.
No, I said you. I said you
You need a
remind me.
keyboard
I said you
player.
remind me of Guar, and you were
Yeah.
just like, "Oh my God, you know who Guar is?"
Yes.
I went to Guar, and we happened to have seen Guar at the same show right over here. We were both at the same show.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so we're in San Bernardino doing this. We were at the same. All three of us actually were at that show.
Yep.
Guar played at a place that was
yeah.
called the San Bernardino,
Dome.
like
Arena.
Isn't
arena
it right
dome.
there?
Dome.
It was there until the roof caved in.
Yeah.
And it collapsed.
It's not there anymore.
Yeah, it's
I
not there.
think it's a recycling
But yeah, we saw it was
center
them.
now.
It was Guar and
God.
the guy from
Atomic Hellfire Club.
Yes.
yes, Electric Hellfire Club.
Electric Hellfire
Yes.
Club. Remember
With
he
Thomas
ripped up the
Thorne,
Bible?
Who was in My Life with the Thrill
He
Kill
tore
Cult.
up the Bible
Yeah.
and threw it in the crowd, and someone threw it back at him, and
Yeah.
he's like,
Nailed him.
"Kick that guy out of here!" And everyone booed him when they kicked him.
But they were
out.
good though. They did a cover of Calling Dr. Love by Kiss, so had to like it.
Yeah, so the night that you guys came over, I had like planned it, like okay, I'm gonna get him on the
You
couch,
put rose petals on
right?
the bed,
Yeah, I'm gonna get him all on
and
the
a nice
couch,
bottle of
arranged where I
champagne
like,
chilling.
you guys got this great sound. You know what you need, a keyboard player. And I went and got my keyboard, and I like brought it out and set it out like it was a bouquet of roses, just like,
I totally.
I can play this.
I totally looked at it and went, check out his keyboard. He put his keyboard out, you guys.
Hell
Yep.
yeah.
I did.
Girl, that's like you walk in, you're like, why?
Yeah, it
why are
would've
the
gone-
lights
it
low?
could've
Why are
gone
the
like
lights
two
down
ways.
low? Why are there so many candles lit?
It could have gone one. It could have either been keyboard or your awesome huge stand-up bass that ended up James
Falling
Dawkins
out of-
had.
and it fell out of
Who
his
James
truck and
Dawkins-
exploded or something.
James said he'll come on if he's watching this. Please come on next time because James he was also part of this history too because he met us right after you joined the band pretty much.
Right.
And we met 1031, which would be another great segue to have Craig on here because I actually bumped into Craig the other night and he said he would do it.
Yeah,
Craig is our age too.
yeah.
Which we're cooler than all of you watching this because we're older than you and therefore we like better music than you and we are more wise and intelligent. Okay? Everything you like sucks. Everything we like is cool.
Yeah.
That's how it works. And Craig is deep. He's got the deep cuts of like he's into Throbbing Gristle, one of the only other guys I know that's into stuff like that. He likes Big Black. He likes all the good shit. So I have something hilarious
Too
I want to
easy.
bring up. So Jason's band at the time was called Hero to Zero.
Right.
Fast forward maybe a decade, and I got this. No, not that long, but years later,
Oh.
I got this unit where we're filming right here. This is Mad Science Studios for the people in San Bernardino that have come to shows here. It was our little like. Underground, very fly-by-night, very dangerous, flirting with disaster venue that we were like seriously on borrowed time. Luckily, no cops ever came, but there's so many opportunities for us to go thrown in jail. But the guy in the unit next to me was this guy named Wolf, Alex, who he came over when he rented the unit. He comes over and he says. He saw us practicing. He's like, "Oh man, I used to play music. That's awesome." He's like, "Let me give you a CD." So he gives me a CD, and his CD is the Hero to Zero EP, but it's just him singing on it, and the lyrics are totally different. It's the same
Sex song?
band. It's Jason's band. It's the exact same dudes before Jason joined that band. This dude Wolf, my new neighbor, was the singer, and the songs are the dumbest songs ever. He had a song called Sex Song, and the lyrics are literally sex, 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 song. That was it.
The best part is that you remembered all the lyrics. So
how can you not?
It was a catchy tune.
I mean,
he had something.
It's an earworm.
It had a hook.
I can remember 2 words.
Oh man, it's so bad. It was so terrible. And it's got a picture of Alex on the back with his like shirt off, and he's like got his abs out, like spray painted on. And he's like laid out for the sex song. Come and get it, ladies. Come and get it. It was so bad. It was terrible, but it was hilarious when I listened to it. I was like, this sounds familiar. Like the riff sounded familiar, and then I was like, I looked at the names, and it's like Mark Nikoff, drums, Rich Mick something, McLean, Rich Mick.
I can't think of his name. I don't know why. I'm still really good friends with him.
I think McLean or something.
No, that's David McLean.
David McLean. Rich something. Anyways, it was the band. It was like your band. It was hilarious. So what a small world. There's so many weird convergences. This is a nexus of crazy, like, it must be like where 2 ley lines meet, and all the psychic energy is just a whirlpool above here, so you have all these weird connections. Which, oh man, I gotta bring something else up. Okay, I mentioned it on the last episode, which we filmed 13 seconds ago. Can I bring this up?
Yeah.
We were talking about records. Okay, you're gonna remember this, Tiff. So, was the first album I bought. It's Welcome to My Nightmare. And actually, I don't even know if you guys know this, so the guys in my band might not be privy to this. So here was our one shot at making it, right? We had recorded, this is after Jason had joined, we recorded our first album, and we recorded, at the time, the new tech for recording guitars was using a pod. It was a direct-in thing by Line 6. It looked like a little kidney bean. That was basically an amp modeler, and it sounded good. I mean, you could tell, if you mixed it right, it sounded good and better than it would if you just mic'd it up, and you didn't need a million effects pedals, and we were broke as a joke, so Dax went out and got a pod. I think you had a pod, too. So... And Dave, the guy that at the studio we recorded with that, and we loved the sound. Yeah, Love Juice Studios. Anywho, so the pod was like what we recorded on. We were very familiar with it. We had 2 of them in the band because Dax had one, you had one, and
eventually we got an amp.
Yeah, eventually we got Line 6 amps and blah blah blah. Now I use specifically will use Joey Sturgis Tone's amp modeling software, which is so good. So that's a little commercial. Maybe I'll get
nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with
that. It's a plug-in commercial. Yeah, actually, if anybody is into home recording, buy for $59. You get the Joey Sturgis Tones. Get one of their guitar plugins because they're just like the best sound ever. But so anywho, this would have been, I'm gonna say 2002, 2003. I had a subscription to Rolling Stone magazine, okay, and there was an issue that came out with, it was like all the Runaways. It was like a Runaway reunion thing, right? And they talked about.
I got a story. Keep going.
Okay, good. So the article was entirely about how their producer was basically this Svengali dude named Kim Fowley.
Yep.
And Kim Fowley was like a what was the dude that shot the lady? Freaking with crazy hair. Phil Spector. Okay, thanks. Of course, Matt Pinfield chiming in. So he was like the Phil Spector. He was kind of like a small potatoes Phil Spector, but he had writing credits. He wrote off of here. He wrote the song "Escape" or co-wrote "Escape." He also wrote I think it was "King of the Nighttime World" or something off "Destroyer." One of the songs off there. Maybe not "King of the Nighttime World." What's some other songs off "Destroyer"? Real poppy-ish one. I'll have to double check. He wrote a song off of there. So he had written songs for Kiss. He wrote songs for Alice Cooper. So he had songwriting credits for 2 of my heroes. And he was the producer for the Runaways. And he basically would lock them in a room and do really weird, uncouth things to get them to record. They all hated him. And so this whole Rolling Stones article was like a hit piece on this guy and just talked about what a dirtbag he was. Okay. Maybe a month after that, I get a random phone call. And this was actually just after Dax had left the band. So that was like fast forward in the future a little bit. Dax left the band, so we put up a bunch of flyers.
I had already left.
Maybe you had left too.
I had already left before that.
Maybe did you? Okay,
we're gonna have to back up some.
It was for some reason we had flyers up that we were looking for someone, or maybe it was just a show. Maybe it wasn't after you left. No, I think you were still in the band at the time. But we had flyers up, and I put them at like guitar centers and stuff, and I used my own phone number for booking or something like that. So anyways, I get a phone call, right? And the phone call, I answered the phone. It's just me at home. You may have been there, but I answered the phone, and I'm like, I'm like, hello. And the guy on the other line's like, yeah, I'm looking for somebody from the Order of the Fly. And I'm like, this is Ralph. I'm, the bass player. And he's like, yeah, I'm Kim Fowley. Do you know who I am? And I was like, oh, yeah. I literally just read about him. But this is how stupid I am, okay? So, I swear to God this is true. This is not, I'm not making this up. He's like, yeah, I just moved to Ontario. And maybe this is maybe 2 or 3 years before he died. He's like, yeah, I just moved to Ontario. I'm with some other guy. I can't remember the other guy's name. Somebody, I don't know who he is. He's like, yeah, I got your flyer. It looks promising. I don't know. He was really trying to use his just dirtbaggy LA vibe on me. He's like, yeah, I don't know. I can't tell if it's good or not, but he's like, let me just get something straight. If I'm going to be writing some songs for you guys, if I'm taking you on, you're just going to have to be okay with me having credit and blah, blah, blah. And he just basically went into this whole spiel about, without even asking if I was interested, he just assumed that I would jump at the chance. And he basically was like, and I was not, I was a very anti-authoritarian youngster. But so I was like, yeah, which is hilarious because I ended up joining the army. But that changed my attitude. Toot sweet. But so this guy is calling me, literally Kim Fowley, just read this magazine article, and is just going into this spiel about how blah blah blah, and he's gonna, I'm writing the song, so you better be okay with that. And I'm like, I haven't even met this guy. I'm just on the phone staring at it what the hell? And then he's like, he goes, yeah, we got a recording studio. It's out here in Ontario. For those that are out of the area, it's the next city over from San Bernardino. So he moved to the IE, which means he was probably going broke because it's the cheaper part of town. So and then he's like, yeah, we got this thing called a pod. You probably don't know what it is, but it's the new tech, and we're going to use that to record. And I was just like, dude, we have 2 pods, all right? We're ballers, all right? I was like, we
spent $600 and got 2 of them.
I was like, excuse me, I know what a pod is. He just was completely condescending, which I do not respond to condescension well. At all.
I just keep picturing this conversation. He's taking his clothes off in front of you, just naked. And he's like, "Yeah, so this is what you got to work with."
Essentially, was.
And you're like, "Yeah, I've already got one of those."
So without even getting a phone number and being like, "Oh, well, let me talk it over with my band members and I'll get back to you." So I didn't get a phone number. This is before cell phones. This is on a landline. I don't have any way of getting the number. I basically just told him to pound sand and was like, yeah, never mind, man. Thanks a lot for calling, and hung up. And that was it. That was our one shot. That was our one shot, man, at getting a real life producer. We had been huge right now. You would have been reading articles about us being locked into a room, with Kim Fowley holding a gun to our heads, making us record his own crappy songs. But I couldn't believe it. Oh, and then the other thing, he kept name dropping Kiss. He's like, I've written songs for Kiss and Alice Cooper. I know what's going on. You guys don't know shit. You don't know anything. And I'm like, you haven't even heard us. You don't even know who we are. You just found a flyer. I was like, who are you? So I hung up on Kim Fowley right before he died. I might have been the one that killed him. He probably had a little hard. He probably, these assholes.
My crossover story.
Wow.
I know.
I was doing karaoke. Imagine that one night at Don Jose's in Montclair, Upland, whatever. And a friend of mine had gotten rid of a bunch of vinyl, and I had taken a bunch of it and I had it in the back of my car. One of them was the picture disc of the Runaways, right? Mm-hmm. Still have it. And we were sitting there, and we're doing karaoke, and there's this woman that was kind of butchy, I guess would be the word. And she's just all about me. And this guy is like, hey, dude, my friend over there thinks you're hot. And this woman was easily twice my age. And I was like, oh, cool, okay. And he's like, you ever heard of the Runaways? I was like, oh, yeah.
Little cougar.
Joan, yeah. And she's like, yeah, that's Sandy West. And I was like, oh, the drummer? Yeah. Okay. And he's like, yeah. And so Sandy was all about me all night, buying me drinks and all that. And I had the disc, and I should have had her sign it, but I was just like, because I would have had to sign it then sign her with God knows what, Here, sign this. How about you sign this? Ooh. So that was gross. It was disgusting.
That's pretty awesome, though.
No.
That's a good run.
No. That ties
segue
in with your weird...
The vortex of
energy.
The ley lines connect.
Somehow,
they converge here.
Right?
Yep.
Why the hell would I have ever met anyone?
It just gives credence to the simulation hypothesis.
Runaways.
We're all in a matrix-like simulation because there's too much synchronicity for that to be random.
Yeah, it's true. And I think it's just one of those things where you're all in this tight little circle You know what I mean? Especially out here. The music scene's really not big. Think about the same bands we played with over and over. And I remember when we were first playing, even at like 2nd Avenue, people were like throwing quarters and crap at us.
That's true.
Like we were playing with all the jock rock bands because everyone at that point was like, it was Limp Bizkit. Everyone was Limp Bizkit, you know, and people were like, I remember playing and like quarters hitting Aaron's cymbal, like, bing, bing, and it's just like, who's throwing crap at us, you know?
Which you used to see that was a step up. We used to get rocks thrown at us.
Right?
Literally.
We're like, woo, money.
Which was okay because I always like viewed anything like that
I got
as
$1.75.
when Alice Cooper, when he used to play at the Whiskey, his whole shtick was to bum out the hippies in the early 70s, late 60s, and would, you know, he'd play these like sort of hippie vibe shows, and he would be the anti-hippie villain that would just, the goal was to get everybody just out of the, he would just like clear the place out. That became the thing, was according, well, I act like I was there, according to interviews I have seen with Alice Cooper, he would say that that was kind of the cool thing to do, was to go to an Alice Cooper show at the Whiskey and then walk out in protest. Which is great because he's like the, he's the anti, he was like the Charles Manson, musical Charles Manson, well, not, you know, not in the killing people way, but in a fictitiously destroying your dreams way.
Right. You know, I was thinking about with 2nd Avenue Ale House, those were probably the best shows, and the crap they used to let us do in there. Remember, like the pyrotechnics?
What was the guy that ran it? He was a super nice guy.
Okay, the guy that owned it was John. Yeah, John owned it.
Oh, John was the guy.
And John, do you remember the PA that we used to roll in, the big giant blue PA
that we would bring downstairs in the?
What was it? It was like a 30-channel mixer. Built
weighed
in like
about
the late
2,000 pounds.
It was the most ridiculous thing.
Didn't you buy it in the back alley of that place, like off some lady?
Yes, she sold me that and like speakers for like $75 or something.
Unreal.
It probably weighed, like, it honestly probably did weigh over 100 pounds.
Yeah.
At least. And we used to practice in our basement of this house that we had. We called it the Band House. It was off of F Street and 16th, where if you are familiar with this wonderful town known as San Bernardino, you know what a wonderful area that was. We used to actually, George
2 blocks
from
the back of San Bernardino High School.
Yes. George, Dax, Tiff, and I would sit on the patio, and we were on the northwest corner of F and 16th, and on the southeast corner there was this total gangbanger house that would have house parties that would always end in gunfire, and we would just sit on the patio drinking tall cans, and you'd hear guns fired. And rather than duck for cover like idiots, we would just sit there, and it was like the nightly entertainment where there would just be like, that's okay, there'd be like a car, like some souped up like little Honda Civic hauling ass around the block, and then 2 cop cars, and it was like a Scooby-Doo episode where you just sit there like, there it goes, and there it goes, and then you hear it and go around the block, and then here comes a little like fart can, like rice racer zip by, and then here comes the cops. It was and then there was one time, here's a funny story. One time George had a big Suburban. What was that? It was a big white Suburban, right?
Yes, it was like 86
so,
or something.
Yeah, and I heard somebody messing around outside, and it was late at night. I go outside practically in my undies, like, because you had to be on high alert at this house because you never know what's about to happen. I go outside and I see this young youth, just sitting there under his Suburban. I'm like, being quick, like super witty, I just go, hey, and this kid comes out and he just stares at me and he's like, don't tell him I'm here, don't tell him I'm here. I'm like, tell who you're here. And then sure enough, here comes the slow rolling cop car with the searchlight. So the kid, it was like slow motion. I reach out and grabbed his shirt, like right here, and I just grabbed him. It was like a slow motion dream where and I grab him like this, and he just like melted out of it. He just goes like, and like slid out of the shirt. I'm just standing there holding the shirt, too slow to react. Like, I'm now holding a shirt, and this shirtless kid just like takes off running through our backyard, hops the fence, and the cops just hop out of their car, and they just like run past me, and I'm just like holding this shirt. It was like a blue
Here, give this to your
long sleeve
dog.
T-shirt. Yeah, I kept it. I kept it as like a souvenir, but it was a skinny little guy, and it wouldn't have fit me. But I had that shirt forever. It was like some blue shirt with like an orange. I think I did give it to Ellis because it would have fit Ellis perfectly. So yeah, we had a lot of interesting little goings on at that area. But we had a basement. The reason why we rented that house was because it had a basement. We could all basically crash in there. Dax like lived under the recording computer, or a closet. You like lived in the closet for a bit. Oh no, Ellis lived in the closet.
Yes, Ellis lived in the closet too.
That's right.
And that place. Okay, so because of the proximity to the high school, all the kids could hear us practice. So when we would play shows, we would play down the road at this place called the Rock Ranch, and we would come home. And by the time we tore down our equipment and made it home, it would just be like pulling up into like, you just have this. You were so tired and your face hurts because you got makeup and you're sweaty and we would just pull up slowly and it would just be like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. There would be like 50 kids, like had to be
on
kids
your lawn.
on my lawn,
lawn,
just chilling.
Yeah, hanging
Like,
out.
hey, we're coming over, and I would spend the rest of the night like driving them home because their parents didn't give a crap.
Taxi cab.
Yeah, like, oh man, and it would be like, everybody out.
You remember that?
George was the best at clearing that house
He was
out
just
because when it
like-
was time to go, he would just like walk through like, yeah.
Shotgun, like, it's time to go. Everybody out.
I'm so loving George for that. He'd get out in the morning and be like, Dax, you want to be gone? Please?
Oh man, that was like a oof.
Everybody out!
How we avoided getting in trouble with the cops. I'm so glad that we did, but geez, just clearing that place out after a show. Because they would just show up and just be like, oh, we're going to hang out with the band because we know where they are because they go to high school like right up the road from us. So you'd have to be like, no,
stop by on their
your
way
parents
home from school.
want you home. I want you home. So instead of like partying with the kids, it would be like, get in the stupid car and then you drive up to the north end because they're all the rich kids.
Yep.
And then we drop them off at their house.
5 of them home, come back, pick up 5 more.
So
Drive
irritating.
them
I
home.
drove home, bro.
100. I mean, it was just like packed. The place would be packed. It was just unbelievable.
5 at a time?
Yeah.
It was wild.
So if you're a high school age student, please do not go to the band's house after a show. Whatever band you're a fan of, nobody appreciates it. I can guarantee they do not want you on their lawn, especially doing anything illegal, which they probably were.
Yes,
I'm
they
not gonna-
always were.
I'm gonna
All
plead
illegal
ignorance.
at that
I think I
time.
only went over to the band house once after a show, and I hated it.
Yeah, it's
There
terrible.
was so many people. Everyone was watching someone at a bootleg movie.
That's all we ever had was
No, but it was like
bootleg.
someone had like gone in the theater and recorded. I don't remember what it was.
It was
And
Ellis. Ellis was our little...
Or Larry. Remember Crazy Larry who would be there and he would have like weird bootlegs and stuff?
Yeah.
speaking of which,
Jeepers Creepers.
what was his
I
name?
told him not to put porn in that.
Yeah, that was
The,
okay. Here's another story. That actually is. I'll
oh, is that the
explain
story
in a
we're
sec.
going to?
Oh, I'll tell that. Let me do
No,
that.
my story's
you
going to
yours.
go way too long, so go ahead.
Okay, just a quick one. What she's referencing is, so we had this weirdo guy named Larry that lived kind of with us, maybe. Oh yeah, he did live with. He crashed on our couch for. He had nowhere to go. The guy was like way older than us.
Didn't he hide money under the couch?
No,
all
a
the
knife.
time?
He would like.
Oh, yeah,
sit up
yeah.
like with a shiv. It was like, it's time to go home, Larry, or if not home, it's time to get the hell out of my
Yeah.
house. But this guy
Can't stay,
was a very
sorry.
creepy weirdo, and he put in a movie. I can't remember what movie it was.
Jeepers
It was Jeepers
Creepers.
Creepers. And then all of a sudden, it was VHS, so then all of a sudden, it's on, and everybody's just kind of watching it, and I was sitting at the table eating, and I just see it kind of do the, like, edit, like, thing where you tape over it, and it's just a porno scene. And he's like frantically trying to stop it,
dirty,
like awkwardly, like laughing, like, oh, I told him not to put porn
porn
like
on it.
you told your friend to dub a video and had to remind him to please don't put porn on this.
Yes.
That was those are the kind of people we associated with back in the day. Luckily, I don't know what happened to that
There's
guy.
plenty of stories.
I used to see him at
about-
Valley College all the time.
Yeah, he's gone.
Yeah, he's
As far
I'm
as
sure
I
in
know.
prison somewhere or prison or Patton, one of the P's.
There was I'm bringing this back around full circle
Okay,
to
good.
shows at Second Avenue Ale House. We were lighting off full pyrotechnics in there. We built that. Remember, we built that thing that was
Yep.
across the sign.
It was-
And we shot those ones that they're like. It
and-
says, "Oh, they shoot like 8 feet in the air," and they like were hitting the ceiling.
It was
like,
flash paper.
yeah.
Yeah.
Flash paper wadded up
It
into a
was-
little piece of PVC pipe
PVC, yeah.
with rocket
rocket igniters.
igniters in
Yeah.
it, and you made this cool, like, okay, for people that didn't see it, we had a sign, and the sign had these little, like, pegs. Sorry, I'm just going to explain
No, we
it.
still have the sign in
We
there.
have
I
the
was just
sign,
thinking
but on the
about it.
top, it was like a strip of 1x2, and little, Jason made it. Jason's like a genius. He would make these things, but
He's
it
a
was...
genius, eh?
He's a
He
genius,
knows
eh?
metric.
He one time he did our car stereo with spit and duct tape. Hey, that's the
Bubble
second
gum
Strange
in
Brew
there.
reference.
I'm avoiding letting Tiff have the mic.
Okay. I hope.
No.
Okay, I'm gonna rewind it a little bit in case the audio.
You say that, but I've
audio-
never once seen this thing edited. Okay, we're gonna edit that out.
Yeah, I'm not editing that out.
Sure, we edit
that
that
was too funny. So hopefully it wasn't gone too long. But so strip of 1x2 little pieces of PVC pipe, and inside them were wadded up pieces of flash paper, and
I rigged it up to a button system.
Yeah, he had a row of
so I
buttons.
can control them.
Oh
to
man,
go
it was so
in
cool.
order.
He had a keyboard stand that he made a keyboard case that was a coffin, a wooden coffin case. So the coffin is up. He had his keyboard here, and then this strip of like little buttons that would all trigger the rocket, toy rocket,
right.
model rocket igniter things that were in there, and they were supposed to be like a little fireball, like this big. But okay, so now you can take over.
Well, it was like I thought if we did it, with a little one to make sure everyone could see it, do a full sheet because it wasn't much bigger, except that they were catching and the cotton was igniting and then it was shooting
And
fireballs out of it.
We got the idea from the Independence. We saw the
Yeah.
Independence at the chain reaction,
and they
had
almost
like
burnt the. Remember the
Yeah.
like the
we
set
almost
list caught
burned
on
down the
fire.
dog
It was like magnesium fire. It was
That's
like,
where I was heading
it
with the
wouldn't
dog
stop.
pound.
And then when I asked the guy, I was like, "Oh, that's cool. How'd you do it?" He was like, all
Whoa.
proprietary, like, "Oh, we don't share
Need to
trade
know
secrets."
this.
Like,
Yeah.
"Oh,
I just
sorry,
reverse
sorry
engineered.
for asking, guy."
Well, yeah, I looked and I was like, "That's PVC." Yeah, so it was like, and then I just looked up magician crap, and I was like, "Oh, that's easy." But then I learned to blow fire in the backyard when we started doing that stuff at Second Avenue, and
right.
Umberto. When we were blowing fire, started lighting the bar on fire, the spill tray. He was like, start wiping it and light it. And like at one point, you were walking on the bar playing guitar, and I was remember Swarm-O-Vision. The night we did an
man.
entire show
Yes.
in 3D.
We did a show in 3D.
We did an entire show in 3D, and it was the
We
best.
gave out 3D glasses. We need to do that again.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
I have the video of that somewhere because remember one of the
was
guys
so cool.
from the other band like broke the lights.
Yes,
And
then it became
you just
a
hear me
battle.
cussing. I was just
And,
like,
and like you
"Thanks
see,
a lot." It's like you ruined it. You effing boop boop.
he broke
boop."
the
Just,
lights. He broke the lights.
Thanks
and
for ruining the night.
Well, no. That night we were rolling deep, and
Yeah, that's right.
And he broke the lights, but also he shoved Chris.
That's right.
And you would have that guy. Everybody did. It
So
was like,
that
guy
was-
feared
that
for
was
his
a
life.
bad
I mean,
night.
all of us
There was a lot of people
almost killed this dude. Yeah, it was like
outside.
that guy knew that it was like I am dying tonight.
And that was the
These
night.
people are going to kill me.
And that was the night that someone came in and said, "Jason, that's your white truck out there, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I just backed into it." I was like, "Shut up."
Oh, that's where you put the ouch sign
yeah.
on there.
Yeah, but the blowing
It was like
fire
a Chevy
thing
1500 or
took
something.
us. The blowing fire took us to the scariest night ever,
The
which
dog
is what
pound.
Tiff was saying was at the dog pound.
Yep.
And
I wanted to bring this up. Awesome.
yeah, I was blowing fire and I was good at it, and I blew fire and it literally went straight line right into the intake vent.
Well, okay, wait.
Like,
it wasn't a straight line. It would have been a straight line past it, but the intake vent is right here, so you see it just this giant cloud of fire
It was a
billows
good
out
one.
and then just does a right
Like,
angle
sucked
whoop,
up
right into the thing.
really.
And they
Right into the intake
hadn't
vent.
cleaned the lint out of that and all the
Or
dust
the
forever.
spider webs.
Or
Yeah,
whatever.
and we looked up and like you could see the embers in
Yeah.
there, just like kind of.
And then 2 seconds later, the whole place,
Smoke
every vent in the
coming
place
out
was
of
just
every
smoke.
vent.
bathroom
billowing out.
doors come open and people come out, and I'm
coughing
and
like,
the smartest thing I could say is, "Oh, that's the smoke machine, right? Is that like I'm trying to justify it? Is that the smoke machine?" You're like, "No." Tiff's like, "No."
Yeah, he basically
no,
lit
it's not.
the
And I'm like,
entire duct system in that
coming
place
from the
was
ceiling.
like smoldering.
I just remember going home that night thinking I'm gonna have a knock on the door and I'm going to jail because the place burnt
Yeah.
down. And
That's why
Oh.
there's been a lot of shows where we have cut and run pretty freaking quick. That was one of
Yeah.
them. Another one was that one in Muscoy where there was like a drive-by shooting right afterwards where you could tell it went south.
That was when we played 2 shows in one night.
Yeah. Yep, we played
Was that
somebody's
backyard
birthday
We
party.
played the birthday
Was
party.
it Vanessa's birthday party or who's
It wasn't Vanessa. I don't
No, we
remember
played-
their name, but I used to drive by their house all the time.
Yeah, some people asked us to play their birthday party and we're like, "Yeah, sure, of course." So we
And
did.
then it turned into, can you play
And so
like
their
the house
friends
party in Muscoy?
Yeah, their friends that were there,
And
there's
we loaded the equipment
Yep.
through the window.
yeah, well, and loaded it out through the window.
And loaded it out
Quit
through the
in-
window
in a hurry.
after the cops
Yeah.
came.
Yeah, things went south. We played this like total flop house like squat.
Weren't they like
Was I in the
smoking
band?
crack?
Yeah.
Like,
it was in like a backyard,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
In like a
Yeah.
back house.
in an abandoned
and there was
house
no
that
way.
everyone was squatting in.
And then, but like bad element people started showing up, and I've never smelt speed,
I
but
think
you
they were
could.
shooting heroin too.
Well, you
Ran power from the neighbors.
you
Yes.
started and
Yes.
you started
Yep,
smelling
there was a ton of extension cords.
like like obviously I you know I've been around the folks that have smoked weed, so I know what that smells like. But I did not know what speed smelled like, or I hope it was only speed and not like crack or something. But all of a sudden there was a weird chemical smell in the air. It smelled like bleach or something, and I knew that wasn't good. And the attitude of the crowd started. There was new people showing up, like halfway through our set. Really like criminal element type people started showing up. People with tattoos on their heads, and not like punk fans, like fans of like killing people. It looked, everything went bad.
Are you into
So
punk? No,
we had like there was a window behind us, and we'd stopped, and we weren't even gonna risk going forward, so we just like retreated through the window. We were like loading amps and like drums and we like bolted out of there. And later that night there was like a drive-by shooting. Some kid got shot. There was like what was the name of it? There was like the Skoy Boys. It was like this like punk rock gang that apparently one of those, the Evil Boys.
Evil Boys.
Oh yeah, you would know from Muscoy. Bad area of town. Your part's okay, but that I don't know where we were, but it was like
Your part's okay, but the rest of those people.
Well, Muscoy, for those that aren't in the know, Muscoy is an unincorporated area in San Bernardino where you'll see chickens on the road, donkeys walk by, horses.
There's a hitching post in front of the.
It's Mad Max. It's like you're
There's
not
some-
in.
there's
Mad
7-Eleven.
Max. It's like Old West Mad
Yeah.
Max.
I remember the one time. Didn't Dimitri live there?
Yes.
Okay, we'll get to him later on, but
Oh yeah,
the
if you're
one time-
watching this, Dimitri, we tried to contact you. We want to talk to you.
The first time I went there to
We
practice,
just
when I
wanna
came back, you were like,
talk.
"Oh, it's in Muscoy," and I was like, "Okay." And one of you was like, "Go past the 7-Eleven, and it's got a hitching post," and I was like, "Shut up!" And I'm like, "Oh my god!" Like the 7-Eleven doesn't have parking spots;
And
it
it's-
has a damn post.
But it's not even a 7-Eleven. It's just like a liquor store
Right.
and it doesn't even
and there's
have
no
a sign.
parking spots. You just tie your horse up.
And
keep
the
going.
sign, it's not like a lit sign. It's like a hand painted on the wall liquor, and then like ice here and stuff like that. Just painted. It's not even like they didn't even put a level to put the line out. So it says like liquor going at like a 25-degree angle towards the roof. It's all oh man. There's all this duct tape on the window where people tried to obviously either ran their car into the window by accident or punched it, or the town's nuts.
Yeah.
Well,
I think
I know you know exactly the place I'm talking about too. It's like on Macy and something.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think that there's
Just gonna
especially.
tie up my donkey while I go and get my 240s.
I think during the
That
first
train.
part of the band, to me was like it felt cool back then to be a rock star. Like we had a CD, and I didn't know anyone that had a CD.
Yeah.
Like we had
That was
a
big
full,
deal, man.
And
It was
what's funny
pressed,
is,
and it was like
I'll agree that
shrink-wrapped.
that now I'll agree that it's not as much as amazing as I always thought it was.
No,
it
actually,
is to me
I wanna
because
do a
it's still
review of
us.
it. Yeah, but it
But-
sounds. You know what I notice about it, and I don't know if you guys agree with me, and you might. It sounds more nu metal than punk to me. If you listen to it, doesn't it have like a nu metal-ish kind of a
A
feel?
little bit, but that was the time it came out.
Yeah, but I mean, but also the first album, Exquisite,
Yeah, kind of.
which goes for high bucks on eBay, by the
Yeah.
way.
Oh, and speaking of which, we are going to
should
have
do that
to,
at vinyl. We should
we
do a
are
vinyl of
going
that
to
one.
discuss the first photo shoot at some point on one of these episodes
in the backyard.
because I still have every one of those pictures.
Oh, I have
Well,
the
wait,
poster.
we
Hey,
had
can we do
photo
giveaways with them?
shoots
Give away the
before.
pictures of them?
Yeah, we should.
Every one of them's
Hey.
blurry.
Yeah, she's right though. We had photo shoots before, bro, that were just as bad.
Yeah, it was pretty
They were
brutal.
Oh yeah, can you bring it over here?
Is that
Here,
unopened?
get on screen, buddy. Put your sweet little face in there. This is Tony. So when I talk to Tony, you gotta squeeze way in. You gotta lean over.
You've got great stuff.
You gotta lean.
What am I
in,
doing?
Lean even further in.
You're talking into a mic.
Okay.
This is our buddy Tony.
Hey.
Hi.
Tony, who I
a
mentioned
close
before,
call.
he is the Matt Pinfield of
Thanks.
the Inland Empire. This guy knows everything about every band. Is so fun to talk music with because he's like Mr. Deep Cuts. If you think he knows something about a band, he knows like who the recording engineer on their demo was and has the demo. Anyways, this is our first album. Oh, where did you get that? Is that also?
Yeah.
Oh, look at this. So two little albums. This was right after
I'm not in
my
there.
boy.
I'm not on
My
this
boy
one.
here left.
Oh, real quick.
Yeah.
What is my name on that album?
Oh,
Jason
I think it was
Sanity.
Jason Sanity. That's
Yeah.
right.
Which is funny because that
What's
name.
my name on that one?
Abby Normal. Ooh, that's a good story we could tell too.
My name
People
on
were mad
this.
about that name,
name
right?
Well, my
Devious the Clown.
That's right.
My original name was Jason. Jason Sane.
Yeah, Jason Sane.
Then I went to Jason
Which
Sanity.
was like a David Bowie, like
Yeah.
yeah, kind of a thing.
Like the Aladdin.
like Aladdin Sane.
Yeah. And then
Aladdin Insane.
And then I literally switched it to Jason Sanity for like a week. And that was the week that we did the artwork for this. I was like, damn it.
Yeah.
And then it went to J-Synthetic because, keywords makes way more sense.
I think that's cooler. And wasn't there like there was a wrestler named Justin Sane.
Yeah.
So or Justin Sanity or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know why we changed it, but I thought the synthetic thing worked better because of like synth player.
Yeah.
Were you over? 2 minutes is up. 2 minutes and holding. That's another Strange Brew reference. Strange Brew is going to be that's the
what
theme.
What are you trying to say, Tom? We just got Tom.
Are you telling us to wrap it up? Are you getting bored?
No.
Should we turn this into 3 episodes?
I think so.
You had me at 30.
Yeah.
All right, you know what? Let's just keep it going. Hey, is the computer? It looks like the audio stopped too, so that's good. It probably stopped about 5 years ago. Why don't we? Okay, so we'll call it here. I'll check and make sure the computer still works. So
Oh wait,
thank
this will
you.
be the last time I'm wearing that. So
Oh,
it's okay.
dang it! That was also something I wanted to call attention to. So this right here was for that ill-fated. It was art. It was the first ever artwork ever done, and this was for the flyer for the show that we mentioned last episode about the bricks show that didn't happen. But this was, and so we made shirts. And actually, this very shirt, when we met Jason, when he was still in Hero to Zero, we traded shirts, and I gave him this one. He's like, cool, man, I don't have any white shirts. And he like immediately proceeded to rip the sleeves off of the shirt, which I thought was cool because I didn't even occur to me that you could rip them evenly.
Sure, go right
Which I
along
have
the
done
seam.
since then because of you a million times.
You have
It
to
rips
bite.
right on the
You
seam.
get a good bite.
You did
and
such a
right
good
on the
job. I
seam.
was like, that was probably
Just
the.
inside
At first, I
or
wanted you in the
just
band, but that
outside?
sealed the deal. I was like, this guy's cool, dude. He fucking ripped the
He knows what he's
sleeves
doing.
right off.
Oh yeah.
It was like Hulk Hogan. All right, well, thanks. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna pause it. We'll probably do a 3rd episode right now, but thank you for tuning in. We're on a roll, so let me make sure all the equipment still works, and we'll be back.
Yeah. Wasn't there a shirt with like a space?